What up? It's your boy DJ, and we're back with a new video. So, the number one video that I had put out was the Territory Wars one, and as you can see with the Territory War map above, we're going to talk some strategy today about this. Now, I've spent a while, because in the beginning I hated Territory Wars. Let's be real about it. I'm not a big fan about it. So, what I decided to do was to learn it. And I spent a lot of time. There's a Territory Wars Discord that you can find. If you're not on Discord yet, you need to be on Discord. There's too much information out there. It's like a library to not know what's out there. So I went through and I learned as much as possible. I've talked to a few of the there's Territory War guilds out there. Guys who this is all they do is just wait for Territory Wars and then destroy another guild in like 5 minutes. And there's a couple guys that I know that are in one. I've talked to them about strategy, and we're going to go through the different guild levels as far as letting you guys know what to do. Now, when you're a younger guild means that you are down in the below 100 mil GP. You can be anywhere from I think 40 million all the way up to 80, 90 million. You guys are in lower guild levels. So for you guys, what you need to focus on is doing something a little bit different than what the upper guild levels do. And so let's break it down little by little. All right, for a lower guild, you guys aren't going to have the Treyas out there to worry about. You're not going to have a lot of these marquee characters that are still fresh on our minds to worry about. So what your guys are going to need to focus on is going through and labeling different sections. Now, we know that F1 and F2 in the top corner up there, those are ships. So let's get down into this. My first suggestion would be is to divide your guild. Always divide your guild. It doesn't matter whether you're into the lower guilds or even some of the higher guilds. The only ones that I would say don't do it are like the top echelon guilds, and for there, it doesn't matter. But for you guys, I say divide your guild. As in, take half of your guild, put them on defense. Take the other half of your guild, put them on offense. Now, if you have a lot of high-powered guys in your guild, guys who are up there in the 2 million range. Now, mind you, we're speaking about lower guilds here, so 2 million is pretty high-powered for that. If you have a bunch of those guys, save those guys for offense. But what we would suggest you to do is in the fleet section, have everybody in your guild. There's 50 people in your guild. Have everybody in your guild put in one arena team. That's it. Just one. Whatever team they use on arena, set that team in there on defense. Make it as hard as possible, because the further they go back in there, the more points they're going to capture if they're able to clear those sections. So my suggestion is don't put a bunch of teams in there. Just have everybody put in one team. Now, in T1 and T2, what you want to focus on for T1 and B1 is you don't want to put your strongest defense in there. That's stupid. You don't want to do it. You want to put your second strongest defense in there. Now, you also don't want to fill it up with, for example, say you guys have about 50 Jedi Training Rays in your team because everybody has one. Don't do T1 and B1 Jedi Training Ray. Because what you're doing is you're killing yourself on offense. What happens on offense is that you're going to end up going up against a team that the hard counter is Jedi Training Ray. You're not going to have it, and you're going to waste multiple teams getting through these different areas. It doesn't make sense to do it that way. So what you do is you take T1 and you put it with a secondary B-rated team, something like First Order, right? Then you put T2 as your strongest defensive team. Now, the reason why you do this is because it's going to take them a little bit to break through, for example, the First Order. And by the time they get to T2, they will have used up a lot of their good teams trying to battle you. So you go in and you put your strongest team, which maybe for you guys is the new CLS, what they call the Rebel Triumvirate, which is CLS, Han, and Chewie. Let's say you have those three. You put those guys in on T2, and on B2 you put in Jedi Training Ray. or you put in bounty hunters or night sisters or whatever your strongest group of defenses. Now, sometimes, because you guys are a little bit lower, you're going to want to mainly focus on maybe more GP orientated teams, as far as doing a team that you know is 90,000. That's where your team is. Your strongest group in the guild are all 90,000 or above. So maybe in T2 and B2, you set GP minimums of 90,000. The guys will know, if your officers explain it correctly, go in and put down your best teams in T2 and B2, 90,000 GP or above. T1, B1, maybe make them 80,000. Or if you want to go and set teams, then you make them individualized teams. So let's say you put Phoenix in T1 and First Order in B1. Then from there in T2 and B2, you put in CLS and JTR, right? Either way, second strongest defensive teams need to be in the front row. Your strongest defensive teams need to be in your second row. Now, here's where I find where a lot of guilds make a mistake, in my opinion. You guys will now take T3, T4, B3, B4, and you guys will fill those with strong teams, and more specifically, T4 and B4, you powerhouse them in there with like some of the best teams. What you're doing is you're cutting short on your attack. Everybody in your guild should be responsible for attacks. There's no way that everybody's going to fill it up. You shouldn't have somebody go in and putting in 400, 500 banners. If you do, you need to give that person a warning or kick them out if they're not listening. There's no reason why they should be going that high on defensive flags. It's pointless. So my suggestion is when you divide the guild in half, you're doing half attack, half defense. Everybody is responsible for T1, B1, T2, B2. Now, I'm going to clear all this up. I've thrown a lot of information at you. I'm going to clear it all up at the end here in a minute. Make everyone in the guild responsible for putting in one team into those 4 sections each, making your strongest offensive guys have used 1, maybe 2 teams each person and have filled in one of those areas. Defensive guys will fill in the back areas, the guys who won't be able to attack. Say Territory Wars happens on a Saturday and you've got a kid's birthday party. There's no reason why you should be focusing on this game over a kid's birthday party. So, for instance, you're going to put yourself on defense. That Friday, you're going to go in and fill up all the defense that you can by hitting the minimums. And then at that point, you're going to wait until the kid's birthday party's over before you even have a chance to attack. That's great. That's why you're on defense. So help fill in some of the back rows. Guys on offense, you should be putting in 1, 2 teams, tops, 1 arena team, couple true teams, you're done. There, you save the rest of your firepower for offense because you guys are going to be the ones who break through those front lines and try to demolish everyone possible. So that's what your goal is as an offensive person. A defensive person, if you're busy that weekend, you're not able to help out as much, then you're helping the guild by putting in those teams. So let's recap in a very simplistic way. Front walls, secondary best teams. Second wall, T2, B2. Best defensive teams you have. Highest GP, toughest ones to break through. Divide the guild in half. Half the guys on offense, half the guys on defense. All we do is on our Discord server, we have a section. TW defense sign up, TW offense sign up. Once defense fills up, everyone has to do offense after that. No coat writing, no waiting to try and get a free Zeta or free Omegas or whatever you're getting. Guys on defense, you guys are responsible of filling up the back 4 zones. Everybody in the guild is responsible for putting in at least 1 arena team on fleet. That is what you do when you're in the lower guilds. Now let's talk attack. Best ways to go through an attack if you're anywhere below 100 GP. You guys want to have the officers go through the front 2 lines. Find whatever teams that you know that your guild can take out easily. When I say easily, I mean specifically 1-hit kills. As in, if you find a group of First Order and you guys know that you have the counter for that, and you're able to go in and take them down because you have a bunch of Z-Fin teams, then you want to go in and go after them, and your guys are going to go through 1 battle, kill them. You don't want to do multiple battles because now you're wasting teams. You want to go through and do one battle, one shot kills. That's your goal. That's how you get the most points. If you're not going to aim for the most points or you don't think you can take that team out, do not try to fight that team. You're wasting battles at that point. Pick a section that you know your guild will have the best officers, and from there, highlight it, block off the other one. Normally, most people will put the harder, stronger defenses up there where ships are because they know that everybody wants to get to ships because it's less troops they have to use, less teams they have to use to battle and like they do in the South. So most people will put their hardest teams up there. Your guild will make that decision. I'm not telling you to make that decision because I disagree with that decision, but either way. One-shot kills. Look up, find the different, there's a whole bunch of them on Google. You can find territory counter teams. Nukin and Skeletrix, or however you say his name is, they have a series that's out right now where literally they go through each and every team and what their immediate counters are. There's a bunch of information on Reddit. There's a bunch of information on Discord. There's millions of ways to find this information on what the counter teams are. We have a picture of it posted in one of our Discord servers. So that's what you want to do. Pick a section, clear that section out. When you're done clearing that section out, if you still have the firepower, then you move south or north, whatever opposite direction you didn't pick, and clear that section out. But you want to go one section at a time. Now, when you start getting into the backs, once you clear out T2, then you're going to open up T3 and Fleet 1, and that's when you're going to focus on both of them at the same time by having your guys fight fleet battles in the other. But you don't want to open up multiple troop sections at one time because you want your guys to focus on them. Officers, in the section right below it, you're able to put down what the counter is. Suggestion, put in the immediate counter for whatever the main team is in there. If you know that it's a first order team, put in your Z-Fin resistance team down at the bottom. Use Z-Fin resistance. Fast Poe. That's how you beat the first order. With Phoenix, put in Ewoks with Tebow lead. That way they know to go in and use that specific team. They're not burning up a bunch of teams on offense that they don't need to. The idea is to conserve as many teams as possible. Now, as you start getting towards the back, you'll start facing what we call junk. At that point, you kind of don't want to use your heavy hitter teams. You want to use teams that you haven't thought about in a very long time. I can tell you right now, with bugs being the meta, I've actually geared up my bugs for fleet and for the arena, and because of that, I've been using my bugs in territory wars as a team. And you would be surprised, they're actually not that bad of a team if you're going up against a junk team. They'll clear out anybody that's back there. Same thing with some of the non like nobody uses Phasma anymore because everybody has crew. You can put in Phasma as a leader and then put in your leftover Night Sisters that you didn't use. You can put in your leftover First Order that you use. There's a bunch of leftover people on Resistance that you can throw in there under a Phasma lead, and that will actually work to help you clear out some of the junk teams that are going to be in the back area. Again, you don't want to burn your good ones because you want to save them for when you have to go back up against the front line of whatever opposite path you didn't take. So, offensive guys, you guys are responsible for clearing out those first areas. Guys on defense, you guys have saved enough teams to help what we call cleanup messes. For instance, somebody goes through and they find a Palpatine team and they clear out the 2 tanks and Nihilus. But Palp is left and so is Vader. There's no reason the offense guys need to go in and waste an offensive team. Guys on defense, it's your job to go in, take one of your leftover teams, and clear out or clean up the mess. Don't waste a bunch of good teams on mess. That's what the guys on defense are there for. When you get to the back areas where there's nothing but crap, again, that is where your guys are able to go in and clean that up. Now, if you're in a younger guild member, this video here ends for you. We're going to switch over now to the more high-powered guilds and what they do and what we do in ours. Our guild is almost 160 million. And what we kind of focus on, and I've talked to a few others that are up there about this area, they also divide their guilds in the same way, but they go faction based on the front. For instance, they'll put in on the front 2 rows, they'll throw in a JTR and a CLS, top and bottom, right? Second wall that they put in is usually Treya. Treya is incredibly hard to beat. The second row on the bottom, they usually put in Jedi. And now with Revan having been there, or Bastila, they're both really, really hard teams to beat. And being that the Jedi, there's so many of them that are actually useful now under these different leaderships, they don't need to have a rework yet. They're actually good enough. Jedi Knight Anakin, Aayla Secura, some of those guys on there, Qui-Gon Jinn, guys that we haven't thought about in a while. You can split up the Jedi into 2 different teams. There's 2 different tanks. You have General Kenobi as one tank, and you have Old Ben as the other tank. You're able to auto-taunt with them. And then under Bastila's lead, if there's another tank like Mace Windu, who's a great punching bag because he's worthless for anything else, you may be able to put him in as a secondary tank and do double tanks on a Bastila team. Those are different things that people don't think about that are annoying to beat. They're incredibly annoying to beat. And then on top of that, you have the fact that those teams are going to suck up other defenses. If your team can get and score 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 defenses, then you're doing the right job. Obviously, they're eventually going to get beat, but what you're doing is trying to eat up all their good teams. So going faction-based on those front 4 are usually pretty good pointers. Go with teams that get good synergy from the Jakku map. So, for instance, First Order gets synergy from it. Bounty Hunters get synergy from it. Scoundrels get synergy from it. Resistance gets synergy from it. All those teams have a specific hidden synergy that you have to go through and read. I don't remember what they are off the top of my head, but you have to go through and read them and find out what they are. Use those teams as teams that are good for defense. Bounty Hunters are amazing on defense with Bosk lead. Bounty Hunters are amazing on offense with a Jango Fett lead. So there's and now that there's enough of them to be used, and most of us have taken those marquees and upgraded them through whaling out or whatever they call it, then you want to do it that way. So remember, faction-based, first 4, junk, last 4, fleet arena teams in the top. And then when you go through, being that we're all bigger guilds, we know what the contrast are. Again, the focus is the same as the younger guilds. You want to go through and you want to just one hit quit each team all the way through. Trying to maximize the number of points you get. Save your guys on defense for cleanup. Don't waste your teams on cleanup. And also, don't try to be the hero. That's when we get in a lot of guilds. The biggest complaint that I hear is that there's a guy that goes out there and he tries to clear out an entire section by himself, and what he's doing is he's wasting his good counter teams for some of the other counters, and then down the road you're going to get stuck. Everybody's wasted a whole bunch of good teams. Only use the counter team in that section. Patience. That's why they give you 24 hours to clear this out. You can throw in your team in the first area and then wait. There's 49 other people in your guild that can help you out by going in. And I think being that we're high up, I think we only have 24 teams that we have to kill. I'm not entirely sure what some of the 200 guild guys do, but I think ours is at 24. But they go in, there 24 other people, 23 other people can go in and throw in that counter team. You should have 25 guys on offense minimum. I know that we try to strive for 30 or 40 on there and have 10 guys do defense in the back areas. Anywhere 10, 15, sometimes 20, but we try to have at least minimum number of guys on defense fill in those back areas, guys who aren't going to be able to play. Also, for being that we're higher up, another suggestion or trick is if one of your guys cannot play, don't have them sign up. Very, very important. Don't have them sign up. If you have 50 people in your guild and you're at 150 GP and you have 5 or 6 guys that are going to be out doing birthday parties, doing sporting events, whatever the situation is, and they're not going to be free to play, they're on vacation, then at that point, don't have them sign up because you're wasting GP. And if you are 150 million GP and you have a whole bunch of Treyas on your team and you're going to drop down by having 5 guys not sign up, let's say you drop down 10, 15 million GP, now you're fighting a team that's 130. Now at that point, they don't have Treya. The likelihood that they have Treya is a lot less. And so it benefits you because it holds them on defense and it gives you more offense. So if your guys aren't going to sign up, it saves you some trouble. So if they're not going to be around, don't let them sign up. Other than that, yeah, most of the guys who are in the 160 mil area were all pretty active at that point. So being that we know that, we're not even going to waste the time. So I'm pretty sure you guys all know what to do. You know what the counter teams are. You know what to do. So go from there. Take this information. Hopefully it helps you out. Again, like, subscribe. It allows me to do more as we go down the road. And that's pretty much it. If you got any questions, throw them down below. I'm more than happy to answer. I usually answer back pretty quickly because it pops up as a text message for me. And we'll go from there. All right, guys. We'll see you guys in the next one. Heroic Sith. We're going to come out with the series next. Talk to you guys soon.